Hey, everybody. Yeah, I don't know why I wanted to get sexy, but it's just how I feel right now. This is Frame Rate, a sexy frame rate. And I'm Abe Epperson. I'm one of the hosts. We rate frames here. We take a movie and we rate it. And I'm joined by my co-host,
Michael Swaim, your curvy, sensuous co-host, always supporting whatever bit is handed to me. Hi. Yeah, it's me, Michael. I'm back.
We thought it would be the sexiest thing to talk about some hard sci-fi, and we invited our friend. Introduce yourself, guest.
Oh, hi, hello. My name is Danielle Radford. I am, the curviest of hard sci-fi. Is that how this works?
I was gonna insert myself and say our guest should feel no pressure to continue the sexiness bit, but
yeah, that's true.
Have you seen me? Ain't no
It's
pressure.
true.
It's just how I live my life.
That's right.
Yes.
How can she not? It's true.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we're talking moon, baby. The curviest of the celestial bodies.
Not Moonfall, not Moonrise Kingdom, just Moon.
Really thought we were doing Moonfall because we literally just did the Honest trailer. I was like, oh, I got this. And it was Moon. I was like, it's Moonfall. A real movie. All right. I have to actually do
it is a real movie.
Have thoughts.
Well, awesome.
And we want to take a pause and thank, because this is a Pick the Flick, which means that they went on our Patreon page and gave us some money so that we could talk about a movie specifically at their choice. And this round, we thank Phaedrus. Once again, bringing the hits. Yeah, he's coming back. Yeah. Thank you, Phaedrus. Moon's a good choice, which I'm sure we're going to get into now.
Yeah, I almost dragged us forward in time too quickly. But as we usually do, I want to start by asking Danielle, expound upon those thoughts. First blush, Moon. What'd you think? Had you seen it before? Also,
so I saw it a couple of years ago. I'm sure when everyone had moon fever. But no, like I love Sam Rockwell, so I was already in any movie, dancing or no dancing. You got a Sam Rockwell in, you got a Danielle Radford, and so yeah, like I really enjoyed it. I am just such a sucker for robot friends. Oh, I love a robot friend. Ooh, give me a sassy AI. Give me a helpful robot. Even give me a Hal. It wasn't Hal's fault. Justice for Hal.
I'm gonna need you to back that up with some explanation. I feel like Hal is kind of a cold, unfeeling force of murder and death.
I can change him.
Yeah, I can fix him.
I can change.
It's true.
Hal. You can literally go in and change him. That's the cool thing about Hal.
That's true. Have you heard him sing "Daisy, My Daisy"? It's romantic as hell.
It's so sweet.
Yeah. I think since we landed upon it, we should immediately discuss the thorniest point of the movie, which is Kevin Spacey as Gertie. What's your take, Danielle, on artist separation? I realize this is not really moon focused, but we'll get back to it. I'm just curious. You know what I mean? Is there anyone really, do you rock to Michael Jackson music? Do you et cetera, et cetera?
It really depends. And most of it is like how egregious is the offense. Is it like because for some of them, hold on, I have a burp coming and it's gonna be so gross. 3, 2, 1. Yes.
8.7.
There it is. I'm so disgusting. I'm so sorry. All I drink all day is literally fizzy water. So my it depends. Like it's because obviously some things are victimless crimes, and then some things there are victims, all the victims, and they come forward, and then some of them die under mysterious circumstances. And so it's really that's my alarm reminding me to be here. And so it's I don't know, Kevin Spacey, like it's so interesting because there was that wave of people feeling confident and supported in standing up to the things that have happened to them, and talking about people who have abused them, and just like the shadowy, terrible side of a lot of different industries. And now I feel like we're at this point where a lot of people are like slowly starting to crawl back in, and it's like you just want to whack-a-mole, where it's like, no, you touched kids, you don't get to come back. Like, you don't get to come back. And yeah, like, and I think it is harder, but not like, because there is like the Michael Jacksons, and there are these other things where it's like, this person is such a cultural touchstone that it is unavoidable. But you know what? People said that about R. Kelly, and I can avoid him. Super avoidable. Very
Everything,
yeah. That dude.
There's multiple factors in each situation, and definitely one of them is how ubiquitous is the thing. But Kevin Spacey, I don't know if Spacey's going to crawl back. I think he might be down for the count.
He keeps trying.
He's trying with his yearly videos. Yeah,
I can't with his yearly videos where he's like YouTube trying to like recreate his characters, and it's like, you're not. We know, and I look. I'm not one of those people who's like, they should die forever. And it's like, look, court of law, blah, blah, blah. I understand 100%. Victims don't come forward. And I know why, because all of that stuff sucks. It's awful. It's awful. Yeah. There's just like no way as like someone who is a victim of that to come out of it and feel like, okay, Bill Cosby had like 51 women, and everyone was like, I'm not sure, I like pudding pops,
Nor is that come back from a bull. That's so egregious. You're done. That's done. You don't need a career, certainly. You know what I mean? Like, there should be no way for you to come back from that.
But I guess when it comes to, because you can't ignore every movie. Like, you can't, look, no one's gonna gump Christopher Plummer into this, right? Like, this is what it is.
It would be so easy. It's just Gertie.
I mean, you kind of can. It's just a voice. You kind of can.
It's literally Hal.
Yeah.
I can't let you do that, Sam.
We could give Gertie to Chris Pratt, re-release Moon. Everyone would
Chris
be fine.
Pratt? That's not gonna help you.
Well... Anyway,
compound the issues. White dudes on white dudes. That's what we're talking about here.
I mean, you can. I'm not going to make that joke
about how that's the porn that I like. But yeah, so that's cut that. Please cut that. I'm disgusting and dirty, and your listeners deserve better. But yeah, no, like it is one of those things where when you go back and view, there it is. That was the point I was trying to think of. When you go back and view previous work, it's. You got to take the work for what it is. And gosh, I've used this a couple of times where there is just like this thing where if you like a thing, everyone, like there are so many dark stories and people who did dark things. I watch wrestling. Lord knows I have to ignore a lot of stuff in the past to be able to kind of be like, hey, I can still like kind of watch this. And so for me, when you go back and you look at these movies, yeah, you wince. It's awful. And it's like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. But you can put it in the context of, we didn't know. This was what it was. And hopefully for the sake of the people that person harmed, and for the sake of everyone who has ever been harmed, who watches that and like, really like does something to them, like it triggers memories, like it does those things. Luckily we are at a place where that no longer happens, but you can't you can't erase Rosemary's Baby. God, I would love to, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't erase the Polanskis, and you can't erase that because it did happen. Yeah. But what
can't delete every Harvey Weinstein movie, or it will be a real shame. He was an octopus with tentacles in many great films.
Other people, movies are not just one person. Entertainment is not just one person. It is a group of people that get together, that believe in something, and that want to work on something. And so it is a shame that what winds up happening is the rest of these people who worked on this like really cool thing wind up having their work and it's like, oh, well, this is all just about this person. And it's like, yeah, this sucks. And I don't blame anyone who's like, I don't want to like even go back and watch the old stuff. Dude, I get it. I will never fault you for that. But also like, as someone who has worked in places where later we have discovered that people have acted in many ways that were untoward and not great, it gives me the perspective of like, you have to remember that one person does not make the entire project of what you love, and a lot of people made that, you know? I don't know. It's really complicated because like at first glance, you're like, fuck that dude, which is right. It's the right instinct. But yeah, it's what do we do with art, you know?
Yeah.
I talked for a really long time.
I was going to say I invited you on our fun movie podcast and threw like an intractable social problem at you. I was like, that's your first question.
Well,
there you go. And you did so
everything.
good.
I think that was
welcome.
a very good answer. I think it was a
Beautifully
stupid
said.
question, but I think very well done.
Well, stupid to drag us in a tangent right up top. But
look, it just takes me 10 minutes
tactics.
to get there. But if you give me 10 minutes, I will eventually get to the answer that I like.
No, I like that answer a lot.
I do too.
Michael,
I
love you,
funny
baby.
that
Never change, baby.
Well, I just see these as the movie is just a launching point for an interesting conversation. So as long as we have a good discussion, I'm down. But I do want to. I want to avoid the comments saying they never talked about Moon. So let's talk about Moon.
Sure. That's the important part to cover our ass.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed. You said.
On a podcast about the movie Moon.
Can I?
It isn't just me ranting for 10 minutes. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Oh, headache medicine.
No, not at all.
That's the guest prerogative.
Not at all. Yes, please interrupt me more.
I was about to sing "It's My Prerogative," but Bobby Brown also a piece of shit. You
fuck!
Can't get away from it.
Nothing is sacred. I want to say that I've seen this movie several times. This movie, to me, with all that being true, still incredibly, like, so good. Like, this is to me, one of my favorite movies, actually.
Yo,
it's definitely top 10 of the last decade.
Yo, we all make fun of Nepo babies, and I will to the end of time. We are all gonna, I mean, I'm sorry if y'all are Nepo babies, but if I find out and you make something great, I will acknowledge you made something great, but I will make fun of you for being a Nepo baby. But of the Nepo babies, Duncan Jones is a good one.
Right?
My brain just figured out what Nepo baby means. Great. I understand.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. And he kind of, I don't know. He definitely has, like, he's also made source code. He's like a lot of people
I like source code.
A lot of people are on the fence about him because he also did Warcraft, which I actually think is a sleeper. Not like good, but like
it's sleeper, not as bad as you thought it would be.
It could have also been a tragedy. Like, think about it. The Warcraft movie.
I don't know the whole history around Warcraft. I am, as I think we all are, we've all talked about how nerdy we are and our nerd interests. What I will say about Warcraft is I feel like that is one of those properties where it is so ingrained in the singular user experience that it becomes very hard to be like, oh, well, now you're like not the dude in charge. Now we have to like put all of that on a protagonist and then make the story using the elements. It's already hard to take a game and make it into a movie. To take a game that's like a thing where it's directly you, craft all of these things, like Lord, whoever eventually does like Eldred Rings or like any of that stuff, like God bless ya, because it's gonna be like real. I'm sure
it's a goddamn disaster.
Yeah, I'm sure there are 20 people right now doing a Fortnite
and it is
game,
happening. Video games are clearly the new comic books. We're all that's what's going to be mined for the next 25 years for film IP for sure.
That and tabletop RPGs is like right after. I'm calling it now. I'm telling you, it's right after.
I completely agree.
And so it is Warcraft, not for me, not my jam, but I do understand how difficult it is to try to serve a story while also serving so many different masters, you know?
Oh, you're making me imagine. It would be really funny if the Warcraft movie was very loyal, meaning it was about a city planner and the scenes were like walking around zoning stuff like,
yes, me lord.
And the blacksmiths should set up here. Very good, my lord.
And there.
We're working.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, what do people want? Like, it's, look, if someone... And I know that at some point there was a plan to, and I know right now there are people who are like, we should do Monopoly. And it's like, fucking why?
Well, because you do whatever you want with it. Have you seen a little movie called Battleship, my friend?
Oh, act like I ain't seen Battleship. Act like I ain't referenced Battleship in, I think, the last 3 Honest trailers.
Oh, yeah? The hat trick.
No, definitely one of them got in, but
But, you know, Battleship is the movie that convinced me when I was like, people are like, oh, they optioned that game, sorry. I'm like, that's stupid. Then after I saw Battleship, I'm like, well, if they're doing whatever they want, if they're like, it's sorry, but it's actually Men in Black fighting vampires, and you're like, okay. I mean, if you're just going to wrap the IP around it, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't think it works, but you know what? Jesse Plemons, Rihanna, I'm there for it. I mean, the best movie about games, speaking of Jesse Plemons, is Game Night, but that's not what we're talking about, but I will come on if you ever talk about it later.
I would argue Game Night's about friendship and not games, but let's talk about Moon.
A man gave us money to talk about Moon. I feel like I'm losing my mind right now.
We're
a third of the way through the podcast.
I'm the worst. No. It's all my fault. I'm a derailer.
But it's all like, this is all true and related to Duncan Jones. I just wanted to say I like it. What do you guys think?
I also care for it. I feel like I compare it to so many things because it borrows. I feel like it's a super competent. It's almost Mass Effect. This is a weird analogy, and not to take us on a tangent again, but Mass Effect, I had to do a deep dive when I worked at IGN into the lore of, and I realized that Mass Effect is actually the plot of Alien plus the plot of RoboCop plus the plot of, it's all these homages layered smartly on top of each other. And as much as I like Moon, I do think it's that. I think it's Duncan Jones almost proving I could make a movie. And it's like, it's great. It's such a basic, straightforward movie. It's like what that's a sci-fi. It's like a long episode of Twilight Zone that's as punchy as it needs to be, does everything effectively. It's like my favorite thing, which is written sci-fi short stories. It reminds me of a Harlan Ellison story. In fact, we just covered on this network the story Shatterday about doppelgangers where one gets sick while one gets well and they argue about who's the real one. Really weird coincidence, but I love it. I feel like it's classic hard sci-fi philosophy shit, but it the only thing I'd knock about it is I do think it's like a safe base hit. It's like what if we took Hal from 2001 and we combined it with, just various elements from things like Total Recall is in there. There's Gattaca in there. But yet it's all done so well. And I think what it speaks to is that in the end, a fresh idea, which is so funny because Hollywood is basically like high concept is king, which is the idea of this hooky, simple, one sentence thing. And
it's
yet
an elevator
in reality,
pitch, which is wild because it's a very deep movie.
Well, because Moon does have a good elevator pitch, and the best is when you have both. But I guess what I'm getting at is the movies that tend to really stick with us, it's actually for the reason of the execution more than the idea. There are so many movies I love where actually would be hard to explain, and it's just scenes and moments and characters. And I think Moon succeeds on that level, which is the highest of compliments, considering that you're right. It is super high concept. It also has the sellable pitch. It's, it reminds me of Nightcrawler too. No extra parts, very spare, very like, how refreshing. That's a movie. That's right. That's the basics of how you make a good movie. I remember. Well, because so many people are experimenting with form and blah, blah, blah. Moon doesn't really experiment with form. It's like, hey, you know good sci-fi movies with a twist at the end? This is one of those. And knocks it out of the park.
I have thoughts on that, but what about you, Danielle?
Well, first of all, I love the way Moon looks. Like I love the aesthetic, and I'm okay with the fact that it's like revisiting. At this point, these are like tropes, right? Like, again, yeah, you're right. It looks like, a bunch of different sci-fi films that we've seen in the past, like that very like cold white aesthetic. I mean, I feel like this is someone watched this and went like, hey, how about we make this but horny, and it became Passengers. Like there are these different elements to it. So I definitely agree. For me, and it is one of those things I have, and we're all writers here, and probably all writers listening, to be honest. Like, we're all fucking nerds. It's all fucking film Twitter and movie geeks. Down. Yeah, we're all writing. Yeah. It's turtles all the way down. Nerds all the way down. So it is one of those things where I feel like we all struggle to be like, how do I do this in the most unique way that anyone could ever do this? And I feel like it's probably if you're doing a space epic about a dude who is lost in space and can't find his way home, and you're Duncan Jones, maybe that's harder for him than other people for reasons. Right?
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's harder for him. I would definitely my dad's not David Bowie, but like if you're making a movie about that topic, but maybe that also frees you to say like, hey, I can just like do the things I like, and everything we like is this like mishmash and combo of like gorgeous elements from other things. And so it's been very freeing to be like, write the thing you want to write and fix it later and talk about it later and zhuzh it up or whatever. But it's okay to have an aesthetic that has been used by other people. It's okay to do a story about a dude who was lost in space when your dad has a very famous song about dudes lost in space. Like, it's okay. It's fine.
That's why I think this is sneaky, really fucking good. Because we can talk about like the shots and all that stuff. What to me makes Moon really special is that it is a freshman director coming out and saying, I know I'm Zoe Bowie. I know what all this is. I'm going to make a movie, and exactly in the same breath of, it's a fucking space movie, and like, who's more important to like the musical kind of theater of space than David Bowie? And he makes a movie about evaluating his own notion of identity. When you start thinking about this movie as a exercise in self-perception, Sam 1 and Sam 2 become very clear analogs of what like the metaphor is. And it's like, you have like Sam 1, right? He spends like 3 years on the moon alone. He's kind of developed this like peaceful kind of like, I'm going home, I did my job, but his isolation has kind of caused him to become a little stir crazy. He's kind of reflective and like insecure in ways. Whereas Sam 2, when he just kind of pops into existence, he's all about the mission. He's aggressive, he's hot-headed, and that's like two fissures of Duncan Jones to me. That's like, and the point of the movie is that once they stop judging themselves harshly for, their past, or, number 2 develops kind of compassion for his fellow clone, they're able to elevate them as individuals, and get off this rock, so to speak. This is him literally becoming a satellite, and that's fucking cool.
Well, and ultimately though, what he brings back is the truth that corporatocracy is up to some shady shit, which is neither here nor there as regards like what you just said, which I think is actually good in the sense that you can watch the movie and not know Duncan Jones is David Bowie's father. And like, 100%, it doesn't feel, you don't watch it and go, wow, this owes so much to David Bowie music.
Absolutely.
It definitely feels so much like it just works as a movie on its own in a void. You could like go to a matinee and not know what's going to come on and just see this with the credits cut off and go, well, that was certainly a movie. Like I don't think it's people who haven't seen it, I don't want them to get the impression it's like some introspective trek into
no.
Because man, it works as just like I wonder what's going to happen next to this
what
character.
happened to these clones.
Yeah. And has the classic, I mean, Serenity. It basically has
Yes.
a Serenity ending. Like,
Yes,
we're going to
100%.
reveal the truth of this corporate fuckery, and that's the triumph at the end, which I always can root for, obviously. And I thought there was a subtle implication that over the course of the 3 years, Sam always conquers his anger issues. Like, he undergoes that little arc as he endures the 3 years, which I thought was a sweet little touch.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit like when you're a baby, you're scared and kind of angry. And when you're an old man, you're senile and kind of angry about it. Like, I kind of feel like when we look at the Ouroboros, that is like their, cyclic relationship. And we see these two men at different versions of their aging, their 3-year lifetime. You come to realize that, like, they do grow a little bit and settle into the middle zone, like the middle place, Sam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Also, I really like the idea. It's a simple twist on the trope. And I completely agree, Danielle. I think that's something that always traps me, is the idea that I want to create something that hasn't been created before, rather than just settling for, well, no, you're just doing your own version of a story that's been told before. You're like, oh, I thought I was telling a new story because I'm so special and unique. And it's like, no. You're carrying on a tradition of us telling stories to ourselves.
That's how it should be celebrated. 100%.
Yeah, to remind ourselves of things we need to be reminded of over and over again, to keep ourselves on track. But like, I do think it's interesting that this all takes place in you're talking about the collaborative nature of film, and I know there's a big team behind this, but it still is maybe the fewest people you could have.
Yeah.
Like one actor playing against himself and then a voice. And how much they accomplish with that.
Remember when we used to be able to do movies like this?
Oh yeah, you just shove Ryan Reynolds in a coffin and you'd have a movie. That's a movie.
And they would just give you like we used to call them, I'm sorry, I think it was like a mid-budget movie. Like, I'm trying to remember. It's been so long.
You mean
since
movies
I've seen
like
one.
that?
Yeah,
God,
like movies where it was like, we could do like something
mid-tier.
interesting that doesn't have to like be a franchise or like tie into anything.
It's not low budget, but it doesn't break the bank.
5 to 30 million don't exist in the market anymore.
Wild.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was cool how he at least refreshes the trope. Because if you're going to rip off Hal, the only interesting thing you can do with it is what they do in Moon, which is, what if Hal became sentient and stayed good? That's the other thing that could happen, right? Is what if the computer is your friend? That could happen. That's allowed.
And that is my jam. And also, I'm sorry, I don't mean to reference us to death, but as soon as they were like, his name is Sam, he has a robot friend, I was like, Quantum Leap? Is he ever gonna go home?
Who's your favorite robot friend, if you could have a robot friend?
Oh my god. Oh wow. Geez, I think I might be. No, this is. I could literally spend 2 days writing like a 30 robot list, but off the top of my head, Rosie is dope, dude.
I love Rosie the robot. Yeah, that's a good pick for real. I mean, she's also explicitly made to clean up after you, which is not.
Yeah,
not
but
bad.
She's sassy about it, and I feel like she has and I feel like she like doesn't she have like a boyfriend? Like she has like a life outside of the Jetsons.
Yeah, that's the implications of that.
That's the one that I'm most like, because it's like, yo, I want you to have a life outside of me. I mean, like I still want you to like do your job, but like please have a life, have days off, you know?
Yeah.
No,
what did you think of the implications of, and this is for anyone who has a thought, but when Gertie becomes good, does it at all ping for you? Like, I don't know. The movie goes out of its way to say this is against your programming. And he goes, yeah, well, I'm doing it. Does that need any further explanation? That was my only last thought.
I feel like that's incorrect assessment of what happened. He never says this is against my programming. He does ask him, why'd you help me?
Why'd you help me?
Why'd you help me? And his answer is, I'm always programmed to help you. Like, that is my one function. I don't serve them. I help you.
I cry.
Okay, but he says, Gertie doesn't helping me go against your programming. That is a quote. But then he says, helping you is what I do.
Okay.
Sorry, anytime robots show feelings and be like, hey, anytime a robot or an android or anything. Huge hole in my heart.
Oh yeah.
Murders me.
Yeah, it's obviously a theme because there's the last line to Gertie is, Gertie, we're not programmed, we're people. Do you understand? Which,
and then he takes off the
for me, but I get it.
And then
I'm
he
not
takes the
mad at
kick
it.
me post-it note off. So
that-
he's like,
that got
also,
me.
like, I did change.
Also,
I am a
humanizing
different
you.
version of myself.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about. He's saying that's why we're not programmable. We
Yeah,
alter.
I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. That is why I'm sorry. I keep referencing Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies.
Great.
That line,
as it should be.
full of this.
I'm that line. I understand why humans cry, but it is something that I cannot do. And then like him going down in the lava and the thumbs up. Yo, I will cry every time.
Oh my god.
Like,
We just covered an episode of The Next Generation where Data's daughter is slowly dying. And
Yes.
says, I love you, father. And he goes, I wish I could feel that with you. I teared the fuck up just from
Also,
that.
hey, hello.
Sad robots. Yeah.
Have me cover episodes of Next Generation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we'll talk about Moon on those.
Yeah, sorry. I know I'm the worst, but like that's the way that I analogize things. Is like when Qwerty gets that sentience
Qwerty
and gets
would be a
that.
good name.
Sorry, but when that sentience happens and I keep saying, like, I love nothing more than a robot friend. And that moment of like, hey, I am here to help you. This is my job. And that like emotional, because so much of before like Sam 1, like before the Sams meet, so much of that work and stellar acting work. Once again, Rockwell nailing it. One time, two times, killing it. And then being able to work against yourself, because no matter what he's doing, he is not working against another person for the most part. And I haven't done the research. Maybe they had a stand-in or someone else to like do the back and forth. But like, that's a really difficult thing to do. And so for him to have this emotional arc with himself is amazing. For them to include an emotional arc of a robot, come on.
A little robot.
Robot.
His delivery of I don't understand what's happening, I'm losing my mind was a highlight for me. Yeah, a lot of good I mean, of course, any actor's going to like lean into the opportunity, I think, to play multiple parts. But Sam Rockwell, it doesn't even need to be said. You're like, yeah, of course, Sam Rockwell does a phenomenal, unique, interesting job. But man, I was amazed how intense that X-Acto knife fight is, given that it's one actor fighting himself. I was really on the edge of my seat, especially having seen it before. I gotta say, for better or worse, I actually liked this movie better on rewatching than I did even the first time, because you definitely notice, knowing the twists ahead of time doesn't ruin it. It allows you to admire the clean construction of it.
Yeah, I like speaking of clean construction and the difference between the Rockwells, I love simple designs, and while his performances would probably be enough to separate, first off, want to give a huge nod to makeup and hair in this movie, because the absolute stark difference between the two of them near the end is it's almost body horror-esque. But like simple design wise, just simple movie stuff. Have your Prime, your Sam 1.0 burn his hand, and now he has a bandage. Now you know who's who. It's great. You know, like it's one of those things where acting can take it to that level, but if you don't rely on it and let's just write it down, let's just put it in the thing. I love movies that treat the following the threads as precious, because it is to the audience. It's all we have to hold on to.
I feel like a lot of movies are very like hitting on the head, like, you get it, you get it, you get it. And I don't feel, and maybe you all have a different opinion, I don't feel like this hit me on the head with it.
No, it's very smart. It's a smart movie made for smart people, I think.
I think it's really smart. I felt like it came close to hitting me on the head just once or twice. Just on
I think you're smarter than the average bear, though. So this fucker.
I'm more sensitive.
But no.
To
Yeah,
that
absolutely. I do think, like, for example, I love how 2.0 kind of starts acting like out of the gate. He's like just a weird asshole. It's almost like, were you not confused by his initial performance? But then it's like, one asks two, like, how am I feeling? I just learned I'm a clone. Of course I'm acting weird. This is fucking next level. And it's like, oh, that's why he's weird. Is because he's just ahead of us. We're the ones who are waiting for the movie to confirm that they're clones. But the reality is, if you woke up and you saw an older version of yourself by 3 years who's like hurt, you knew that you woke up in a vat and you are his replacement, like instantly. And I love that the movie does not spend
and the
a lot
older
of time.
one has the luxury of not realizing that for a while because he feels originally to himself.
Yeah, he's been 3 years. He's 3 years old, but also he has so much to like lose. He's built up this thing about going home that it's so much that I think your psyche would just shut out anything other than, no, the reality is I'm going to step on in 80 hours this rocket ship and I'm going home, going to see my daughter.
Regardless of this other weird shit that's happening.
Yeah, whatever this
well, because
is
that's
not
who
my
you
shit.
are now. Like that's one of the things that that is so good about this movie and that I love about these kind of movies and shows about this topic is that it's, Dollhouse is like a weird also thing that dealt with a lot of this like identity, like who am I aside from my memories, aside from my body, aside from who I am, not to get like too deep into it, like what's a soul, and so say like you wake up in a vat of goo the next day and you're like, if you're me, I'm like, yo, where's my cats? You have that moment and then you come out and you're like, oh crap, I guess I'm like not a person or whatever. Like that is such a huge, and the way that I don't know, that is something I always talk about because for me, I wake up in a vat, I figure out I'm a clone of myself. The first thing I'm doing, me, 3 years older self, Danielle, we're banging.
Yeah, we did believe we had
straight
a whole
out of the gate, just
about if you meet your clone, it's either fuck or kill. These are
banging.
And usually both in the fullness of time, I think.
Why not? Express both of yourselves in the glow of humanity and do
I'm
both
banging
things.
for sure.
Yeah. This movie is sneaky also with shit that I like, which is not as interesting to everybody, but like, for example, something I noticed is that there's so many little Easter eggs that are just like pointing you in the direction of saying like you should wake the fuck up and realize what's going on. Like, for example, there's like a 4-digit time readout that's like near like, I don't know what, the cockpit of the space station. I don't know what to call that space where he like gets in a chair, but it like at first it's broken. It, like the support due this in this amount of time, no time. And it's just like it restarts and it starts ticking down. But that's like one thing. The other thing I love about movies this smart is first images are so important to movies. In fact, a lot of movies, if you just go back like to your favorite movies and just watch the first image, you'll usually have everything you need to know to like technically answer everything in the movie. Like the plot is unraveled in front of you and stuff. I love it when it does
usually
that.
Helps if you've seen the movie before.
It's a simple,
of
course.
What I mean? Yeah.
It's a simple metaphor. And it's like, this is a classic case of it, which is the first image we get is Sam Rockwell 1.0 is like the windows shine bright in his eyes and he closes the windows. So it does two things. One, he's starting to deteriorate. Light is like too sensitive for him. And two, it's basically metaphorically the lie staring him in the face and he closes the window, which is the conflict of the movie. So we know he will have a revelation in this movie. I don't know. I just like that. Pay attention to first images. Movies only have a few tricks they do, and this is like one of them. And yeah, also there's a thing with eyes throughout the whole movie, right? Because Sam 2.0 also does that. The first thing he asks Gertie to do is like turn down the lights. And I think it's for the same symbolic reason, but also in 2.0s, it's because he's a new baby. And then when 1 and 2 finally fight at like the 35-minute mark, 1.0 bleeds from the eyes. And that's like a nod, I think, to like just the idea that like you need to see, you fucker. I'm going to like, why won't you see? It's stuff like that that really elevate this from something like Passengers. You know what I mean? It's not in the same game.
But I think all that stuff that's really highfalutin and sort of like the crenellations that have to be built upon the foundation only work if that foundation's really compelling at a root level in some sort of primal way. And I think this movie also works in that regard, in the sense that, like, something I'm obsessed with. Well, I think we're all obsessed with tropes because they're sort of our toolkit. But I'm obsessed with tropes as they become like archetypical symbols. Like, what is a door, and what are all the things that to most humans a door represents, right? Well, it can be locked or unlocked. It separates one space from another space. It passing over it implies change. Like, I love that kind of math, and Moon holds up under that scrutiny because I cannot think of a more perfect. So, like, if you took a Venn diagram, right, of the two big things, man on the moon and man who is a clone, the Venn diagram of what could their protagonist want be, the only thing they share in common, those two tropes, is I want to go home. And that's literally a line in this movie, is I just want to go home. That's what... Hey, you're a clone. I want to go home. Too bad you can't. You're a clone. Hey, I'm on the moon. I want to go home. You can't. You're on the moon.
You're like locked on the moon.
It's an amazing. It's like a chef putting together elements where you go, oh, that's smart. Those elements really work together.
Also, can I just I want to give a shout out because there is some brilliant casting in this movie.
Are we about to talk about Matt Berry?
You know I'm about to talk about Matt Berry, my dude. Matt Berry, Benedict Wong. You know I'm about to talk about
Benedict Wong.
Two dudes in two shots, like 2 shots in the movie.
And obviously, I saw this a million years ago, and I saw it now, and I was just like, pause, rewind, pause, rewind, pause, rewind. Didn't even remember.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I didn't pick out Benedict Wong, Matt Berry voice. Now I know so well that I was just like, wait, what the fuck?
You're on the moon, Sam.
You're on the moon.
You're on the moon,
bring you back, sir.
Their characters' names are Thompson.
Sorry, I'm terrible at doing Matt Berry.
And I think those are good names for overseer lackeys.
Overmeyer was one.
Yeah. Overmeyer's is Matt Berry. Yeah. Thompson and Overmeyer.
Let me look it up because I do not remember. I just remember I was listening to it and I was like, no, I know that dude. I'm in love with that dude. And I was watching it and I was like, which one are you in love with? And I was like, both of them.
His voice is truly a beacon now. Because I heard him in that Boba Fett. And he was like, and he was like, he started talking from a robot. And I was
listen here, Boba Fett.
And I was like, that's fucking Matt Berry.
Take off your bloody helmet.
We're trying to bring you back. Oh God, I can't even.
No, none of us can do Matt Berry's voice. Only he can do it. That's why
Berry
he's
in
Matt
my
Berry.
veins. Put him in my veins.
Yeah. My balls. Nothing. No, never mind. I was going to reference Toast of London, which is a very obscure show that Matt Berry worked on.
Not much anymore. Toast of Hollywood's coming out soon.
Also,
that's true. Okay, cool.
What show do you think you're on? Of
yeah,
course,
that's
the
true.
audience knows what you're talking about.
It's Frame Rate, the show where we rate frames. Come on.
Come on.
Good Rockwell butt. Also, if you're looking for some Rockwell butt, in the
I
shower
also
at the
noticed
beginning.
the butt.
It's a good ass.
You know what it is? There's
nice
many.
ass.
He's in his long johns, so that they're very taut, and they do the curve like spandex.
Oh yeah,
so
but there's a full on
right
shower
into the
scene.
cracked. Yeah. But it's just all over the film. You just get right into his crack, and I think
yeah,
that's
like
great.
the man version of Skins, which is a reference to the Kim Kardashian butt lifting. I'm gonna stop talking.
No, I'm with you.
I think I followed. I was going to make an equally obscure reference. This movie also reminded me of the feeling I get when I play Satisfactory for some reason. Abe, did you get that at all?
Yeah, because the design sense and the
I guess
the gray
because
walls. Because
he's shipping resources back,
and everything's
via
modular
space.
design.
Yeah.
For real.
I just wrote down this makes me want to play Satisfactory.
Yeah, Gertie is kind of satisfactory. Like, I don't know why we're talking about that.
No,
but yeah, you're right.
I would actually like
Ex
you to tell me
Machina.
more about this. And Ex Machina, I know, Satisfactory, I'm not as familiar with. So we will take this wherever you want to. We can talk about it now. We can talk about it offline.
It's a real-time
for
logistics
real.
game. Have you played any of these? Where Factorio is another one.
Have you heard of this? Do you know about this? Have you heard of this?
You know-
Oh, well,
about
yeah,
this?
that was like the thing,
about
like
this?
Warcraft. Have you heard about this? Do you know about this? Warcraft is very much like if we're talking about like resources. And
but with no combat.
This one's like
It's-
Factorio.
It's just the logistics part of a real-time strategy game.
Okay.
So
But
it'll
it's
just be
3D.
like it's basically the movie Moon, because it'll say like we need 1,000 units of helium-3. You create a little factory of robots that mines helium-3 and condenses it into cubes and ships it back to us. And then they'll go like, hey, now we need this. And you'll have to make a
And
more
that's all you
complex
do.
thing. And that's all you do.
And you're
It's
alone
so fun.
on this alien planet.
Yeah. It's delightful.
That's
Highly
dope.
recommend it.
Sorry,
It's
again,
dope.
I'm like I keep derailing because I'm like, tell me about this game I've never played.
No. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck?
Certainly not Phaedrus.
No. Yeah. So here's my thought. I like.
Mhm.
Well, I'll just do one.
I have more Moon thoughts. You go.
Yeah. So the clones have been in this loop for 15 years. Spoilers, right? Because 15 years ago, the first the original OG Sam Rockwell, did his stint on the moon. And then he went back, and the reality that Duncan Jones has revealed in the DVD, and I think in interviews as well, is that there's multiple stations on the moon that have this. He's not the only one. And like, not credits, but like in the epilogue, there's a line about like there being 150 of them or something like that, like just all around the moon. And it's been 15 years, and we know that this is the one that gets out is number 6, the sixth clone. And I just thought that in terms of, I mean, I like the hope in the final image, but like kind of like my opinion on Wall-E, which Michael knows, but I'll just say it about Moon. Like those are kind of like sci-fi rookie numbers. The idea that there's only been 6 Sam Rockwells in the last 15 years. Like, let's get that number into 10,000 and now we're talking. You know, like this movie is kind of a filthy casual is all I'm
In
saying.
terms of how much misery it implies, like you think it should have gone darker.
This could literally be like, okay, so here's a horrible thought I had while I watched
You'd
this.
like
I
to
thought,
see the dark side of Moon.
I want to see it darker. I thought it was silly of the company to build this expensive, elaborate, protocol-driven like cycle and not perfect the prison system that goes along with it. It would be literally so easy. Like, for example, the big thing that breaks them out of like contact with the outside world is the radio jammer. I know. The radio jammer outside of the perimeter. Just turn off the rovers when they try to exit the perimeter. They can't get there. They can't fuck it up. Like, what are they going to do? Walk the entire moon?
There's a bunch of ways in which the evil company could have been a lot more competent. For example, that's why I bring up that Gertie, if indeed the answer is, well, whoever programmed Gertie wrote, I program you to always help Sam. That was pretty dumb.
That
if your
was
whole plan
dumb.
was to do an evil manipulation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like I can improve these horrible conditions.
Sure.
And I don't mean that like in a moral way, like make them better for the people. I mean like a more efficient, more effective in making a hell for
I don't
Sam
know.
Rockwell.
I feel like this is exactly what, if you look at what, look, I don't want to date this podcast because I'm sure it goes out like months or whenever. I don't know what date this comes out. Elon Musk literally just bought Twitter. Like, people who have these corporations, like they're not looking for like the best ways to help seize humanity. Like, good if they can, but like they're not. They're just gonna make a bunch of like they're gonna make a bunch of Sam Rockwells and put them on the moon and make them suffer forever.
For all we
Forever.
know, someone just bought Lunar Industries and is winding it down to pocket the asset difference as a tax loss. Like,
So they
it's
can
true.
buy Twitter.
Ooh,
I mean,
looking
in
forward
real
to that
life-
that Lunar Industries NFT is going to be
Pump and
so
dump.
dope.
Yeah.
Pump and dump.
someone's pump and dumping Lunar Industries, and they're like, "What? We have a bunch of Sam Rockwells up there? All right, well, keep doing that, I guess. Whatever you guys do, yeah,
or burn them, or whatever." Yeah, like the reality is so much worse than like, because if this is unregulated, which is the implication at the end, is that Sam Rockwell 2 or Sam Rockwell
the implication
6
is that the public will care. The implication is that it's
their
a scandal.
Stock is down. Yeah. It's like the initial moments, their stock's down 32% and stuff like that.
I like the idea that the public cares. I don't know if they actually would, but I like the idea of the hope. The hope.
I don't, because I think there's something terrifying about like, okay, but what if it was your clone? What if and it's like, you're not the clone, someone's trying to steal your life.
Yes.
And people will always latch onto that and be like, even if I'm like, oh, I see that's a human, and I'm sympathetic, but like any excuse for me not to like go under the hatchet, that person technically was built in a lab.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to do another reference, and I'm
real.
a bad person. But remember that episode of Black Mirror where it's like you get put in prison and they like train you. Or they train. Yeah. Well, so it starts with you get your own version of Alexa that knows all of your likes and your dislikes, and it gets trained. And it turns out it's actually like your psyche and your consciousness put into this thing, and they got to beat it the fuck down like a slave. Yeah. They got to
like
beat it down before it starts like cooperating and doing the things that you want to do. And like that was another thing when I rewatched Moon that I thought about a whole bunch.
And there's a new show right now on called Severance that has the same.
I haven't seen it yet.
I was just about to bring up Severance.
It's on my list. I know. I've heard. It's on my list.
Well, without spoiling, it just makes me wonder if. It made me wonder if the original Sam Bell, like I'd like to hear more from the ex-wife. If the original Sam Bell made a deal with the company to have himself cloned, or is it against his will, or is the original astronaut Sam Bell in on it?
He's in on it. That's at least if you look at what Duncan Jones has said in an interview about this movie. He's openly said, my thought is that he wrote like for money. He gave away the rights for take my DNA and my memories, and here's some video calls that we are planning. In fact, in one of the calls, you can see like a company man in a suit, kind of in the background, just very subtly
seeing it.
So you know these things are scripted,
and that is actually the plot of Lightyear. Is that it's not the movie about Lightyear the toy. It's about the man who went to space and then and then went crazy, and it turns out that the lunar people turned him into a toy.
Turned him into a toy. That's dope. I actually think that's probably dope. I don't know nothing about that movie. I think that is
I have no idea, but I
movie.
legitimately think it's so funny that they were like, hey, remember that time that Tim Allen was a snitch? Nah, get rid of that dude.
Yeah.
He's a snitch. We all know
Make him fucking hot, dude. Let's make him fucking hot. hot as Buzz Lightyear, fucking in his spacesuit. Yeah, it's a bizarre thing, but I don't know. Strange movies sometimes have an effect on at least me. I know I'm sometimes into the strange shit, but that movie looks like straight up disaster for just being a bunch of freaks.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, whether or not I like it,
I will be one of those freaks. Yeah.
But yeah, no, like that is I am very, again, I got really into talking about people who are creeps. I got really into Dollhouse because it also touched on the same theme of identity. Who are you? Take your brain, put it into another person. Are you the same person? Is a soul a thing? Like that is very much something I've always been interested in, and that sci-fi and fantasy. Yo, it's so weird to me, and I'm sure you've all talked about it, when people are like, I don't understand why you're getting moral stuff and you're getting politics into sci-fi and a genre. It's like, that's literally what it's always been.
It's always been that, yeah.
It's always been a thought experiment about the delineation of power, or whatever it may be.
We don't really get those, which I guess is a testament to our audience, you know?
I know, I love that. And my same for my audience, but I see it online and I'm like, look, it's okay to just like enjoy things on whatever level you enjoy them on.
You enjoy it, yeah.
But to essentially erase what a genre does, and literally the entire point of that genre, is wild to me.
It's
but
wild.
whatever. It's
Or
like,
to want
oh, you know-
sci-fi to scrupulously only be people fighting by shooting lasers at each other. And they can't be fighting for any cause that's analogous to anything in the real world.
Nope.
They
No.
just have to fight over some
It's
dark crystals or
just-
whatever.
But
It's
Peter
And you're
just
like-
about aliens.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with people in other
Can't
countries.
have any connection to anything. Yeah.
Look,
That's- it's
comedies
aliens
are
is a
just
different
about
word.
like comedies are not about making people laugh. They're just about like you watch them and then someone slips on a banana peel and you're like, huh, that wouldn't happen in real life. Like, that's-
How farcical.
It can go bad either way. I feel like sometimes I err on that, or I'm disconnected with the rest of the world in terms of I find connections and I think that they're interesting, and I think a lot of people think I'm up my own ass, which I probably am.
Not the people
But
who I'm
I
telling
love-
you, not the people who
I
listen to
love it.
this. You know what? Y'all have done this thing, and I appreciate it because I've done this. I keep getting us off track. I'm so sorry. But I
No.
appreciate this because I've listened to a bunch of episodes. And what y'all do is you create a space for people to talk about the stuff that they love, while it's like, it's okay to be like that nerd that overanalyzes stuff because that is what we do. And no one's crappy about it. It's a good space.
Well, thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. I
I
love
will
talking
accept
about
you're
movies.
going off track for that, but watch yourself. Leslie.
I am. Everyone knows. If there is a way to lead us astray, Danielle Radford's gonna do it.
It's great.
I am greatly tickled to talk on Moon a little more just by the fact that
yeah.
the movie
Good
also flexes nuts in terms of showing what they can do with an actor playing twins.
Yeah.
There was literally no reason to write a ping pong scene in other than that Duncan Jones was sitting at his desk thinking, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fucking do it. They play
Why
ping
not?
pong. I did it. I typed
Yeah.
it in. We're doing it. Like
We're doing ping pong.
an actor playing ping pong against himself. Obviously, a ball is not the hardest thing in the world to CG, but I still think it's quite a ballsy move for a mid-range film. And then, like, to make an arc, or not an arc, but a planned payoff of the film is, hey, how about you shake my hand? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally,
no.
the payoff is just, can I get
Yeah.
a high five? And he does. And
Yeah.
just knowing that that's an
It's so
effects
cute.
shot, it is cute, but I'm just saying, watch that shot again, knowing
Yeah,
that it's
yeah.
an effects shot. It's hilarious knowing that it's some other arm reaching out from
Yeah.
behind his body
Yeah.
and doing the high five.
I'm sorry, I'm doing it again. I'm the worst person. It's a thing that I reference a bunch of the Honest trailers. There were these commercials for, I think it was Miller or Coors or whoever, where it was like and twins. And so anytime I see a movie where there's like two people who look alike and they touch, I always think and twins. Okay, I stopped.
I haven't seen that commercial.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I will
either.
send that to you in the
Please
chat.
do. Yeah. Nice.
There's a series.
what
It was
else
like a huge deal.
design-wise?
Weirdly.
Also ahead of its time in terms of having your character express themselves by carving miniatures, which is what almost every horror protagonist does nowadays, I notice.
Mhm.
Oh, interesting.
Especially since
Yeah.
Hereditary really brought it into vogue. Is you'll have a character who makes miniature towns. I don't know why it's a thing, but watch for it in film. It's a big thing. Way more than people in
Than
real life make miniatures. You know
probably
what I mean?
do.
I don't know
Well,
anyone
yeah.
who makes miniatures other than maybe like Warhammer, D&D figurines, stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And they don't even and 3D stuff. But I am trying to think of like I think the only movie where people like doing miniatures were not creepy and killy was that Steve Carell movie that was based on a true story.
Welcome to Marwin. Yeah.
That's the only one that I can think of where it's like, oh, well, that was actually helpful and not creepy
that
and
was
scary.
somehow healing him, I think. I didn't
Yeah,
see it,
but
yeah.
Usually, and I don't know, man. I hear that Grandpa's whittle. I've never had one, but yeah, that was the only one. Usually, if someone is like whittling,
Grandpa's whittle.
I hear that's a Grandpa's whittle. But usually, yeah, when you see people like whittling or making dolls of people who look like people they
You're
know,
like, that's a
Oh.
sociopath.
you gonna die terribly.
Yeah.
Or something's off. Even in Moon, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you've been alone too long. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet, it's a great-
very solitary habit.
it's a great planned payoff because then that model is used to represent the idea that not enough time could have passed. Like, it's a clue to the fact that he's a clone, and it gives them an excuse to fight with an X-Acto knife. So again, it's just a really smart movie in the sense that they looked in the grocery bag and they were like, okay, we're going to make a great dish using as few ingredients as possible. Okay, we have the model home. We got to use that 3 or 4 ways in this dish. So cool.
Yeah, and they even use I love the use of when Sam Rockwell 1 says to Sam Rockwell 2, after all the fighting, like Sam Rockwell 2 is now working on it. You know, like there's like a like I think the clones are compelled to have a hobby, but that's never been verified.
Or
because
rebuild
he just
their
suddenly
home.
is doing it.
They're
and
obsessed with home.
They're obsessed with home. But he in order to, like, there's a little bit where Sam Rockwell 1 does like, nah, see, you're not doing it right. After 3 years, he's like this. He's showing him the wisdom to the new kid. You know, like this is, you pick it this way. And I think that that's another indicative of them being self-reflective and looking at each other and being like, oh, I see myself in you, as opposed to the combative like beginning when we wanted to deny each other, which is self-realization.
So that was one of the scenes where I like teared up.
Yeah.
Everyone, I've talked about this. I'm a crybaby. Like, if you show me something where it's like people are connecting in the music and blah 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 blah, I will. That was one of those moments where I was like, ugh. Were there any moments in this movie where y'all were like tearing up?
Yeah, I had one, which was the shot of the rover looking at Earth when Sam Rockwell 1 learns that the original Sam Bell exists on Earth. It's just so tragic because it's like the moon, and then it just swings over and it's just like, here's the glorious, colorful Earth. And
here's like the person.
And the space
God, like
between.
Literally, I can't even imagine. You wake up and you're like, all right, well, I'm like in this weird pot of goo and everything is like white and there's no panels and I don't understand what's happening. And then you look down and you figure out, like, down at the moon, someone is living your best life.
Yeah,
you know?
A much better version.
They're hanging out with your cats, Ripley and Hudson. They're those are my cats' names. They're hanging out with your cats, Ripley and Hudson.
Oh, that's.
I know, I'm a weird nerd. They're hanging out with your mom, like they're doing all those things, and you realize the life that was your life. Oh, that's one of those things. It'll tear me up every time. Oh, you're right, 100%.
I used to have a recurring fear after. Because we went to the movie theater a lot. You know, when you, after the movies, you go to the bathroom often, like when you get out of the theater. And when I was just old enough to be sent in on my own, you know, like my parents would go, okay, we'll go to the bathroom, we'll wait. And I would always have this overwhelming fear that when I came out of the bathroom, they would not recognize me anymore or know who I was. Does that resonate with you, Abe?
No, but I'm sorry that happened
not
to
that
you.
Exact. Not exact, but I think it gets into the fear of like the unknown, right? It's just like, what would happen?
How am I not myself? Am I me?
But
yeah.
But like, which is just a generic like, what if I got lost kind of deal. But you definitely spin on top of it. What if I like came out and I was like a different person?
Yeah. Well, I think that fear.
Which
is
I wonder what that
is,
is.
Because the only moment I teared up in the movie was when he said, "Hey, I'm really scared. Where are you going?" I hate loneliness and being alone.
Yeah,
is the
that was one of
scariest
mine
to me.
too. Yeah,
that's the hell that is why this. That's I mean, we talked about Saturday. That's in this as well. That's the real fear. Yeah. The real fear is the internal terror.
Man, or like you already think all your friends don't like you secretly. What if you met yourself and you don't like you either? That would be
dude. Yeah. What if you meet yourself? Would you like them? Is a great question for like, this is what this movie's about.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good way to say it.
I think it's about the pressing need for helium-3 to solve our climate change problems and the visionary, good works that Lunar Industries is doing.
And also text-wise, it's about human clones as potential exploitable labor. It's one of the, more recent movies
It's
about
trippy
that.
to think that could become a viable social issue.
going to, but luckily we'll all be dead by then.
Not in our lifetimes, likely.
Yeah, not in our lifetime. Or maybe we'll be like 80 and it's like, hey, back in my day, you couldn't just have a clone of yourself that was like you at 18 running around fucking all the other clones of y'all at 18.
Yeah, exactly. We make jokes about fucking our clones, but there's going to be someone in a clone war at some
And
time.
when we ever do have the ability to make human clones, some bad we're not going to use it well. We're not going to use it responsibly.
Yeah,
unless Dolly Parton gets there first, and then we'll be fine. She's
yeah. Then our reach
right.
won't exceed our grasp.
An unstoppable army of Dolly Partons sweeping before us, killing all who oppose us.
Stand beneath your God.
If it wasn't for Dolly, we wouldn't have Moderna. I'm just saying, I trust Dolly more than I trust most people.
Oh yeah, give her $44 billion.
Put her on the moon.
No
Or just give it
Jolene's, all vibes.
That's
Or
right.
just solve hunger. Do something like that. Like we need more people. We need more mouths.
Amazing how weird billionaires always think of, oh, maybe I'll buy Twitter and maybe I'll fix the water situation in Flint, Michigan, or like maybe I'll feed everyone on Earth. Then they'll love me. And it's like that would be so easy and you would be a hero forever. And why don't you just buy that, Elon Musk? You know what I mean?
And when you ask people, hey, why don't these billionaires, Elon Musk, Bezos, do these things? You can bleep their names out, but I don't give a shit. But why don't these billionaires solve world hunger or whatever? They're always like, where their cash isn't liquid. But when they want to buy something for
they make it work.
They leverage it against a hedge fund to get a loan from someone else. Like they find a way. Yeah.
Life is a cavalcade of chaos.
I desperately
indeed.
need everyone to watch one of those TikToks where they explain to you how much $1 billion is. Anyway, I am derailed enough.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Those are great.
Everybody, go watch TikTok.
TikTok.
Thank you to Phaedrus. This is my wrapping up voice.
I'm so sorry.
Great.
No.
Oh, it's a good episode when it ends with the guest saying, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just so sorry. I deeply apologize. No, this has been fabulous, Danielle. No apologies
this is a great,
required. Thank you so much for
captivating
joining us.
conversation.
Great convo. Great pick, Phaedrus. And Danielle, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to pretend like we didn't do this once before and lose the tape. I hope you enjoyed your first time on Frame Rate, and we would love to have you back sometime in the future if you're down for that.
Thank you so much. I can't even. I had such a good time. Like, thank you for chatting movies with me. Again, I'm sorry. I'm such an eruptopotamus, and like, I will literally. My ADD brain is like, this goes to this, and that goes to that, and blah 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 blah. And then suddenly, we're spidering, and it's like, why the fuck are we talking about Star Trek? Like, I don't understand how we got here.
It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, well, trust
me. No. Well, now we're talking about Childish Gambino. Like, what are we doing?
I'm always. So sorry. Anytime. In the case that some of our listeners love your unique style of linking thoughts together, where can they find more of your stuff and find you online?
Oh gosh. Go to Danielle Radford on Twitter. I got that one. Good for me. Typically if I have something going on, I'm on that. I do like I'm one of the writers for Honest Trailers, which I think is why my brain is always like in 80 different places. If you like wrestling, I do a wrestling podcast called Tights and Fights. God, what else did I do? Just like a bunch of stuff. Just follow me in there. I wrote a comic book. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. Thanks for listening, y'all.
A delight.
Follow
Thank you for letting me ruin your
Check
podcast.
out Honest Trailers. If you want a bunch of bonus podcasts, head on over to patreon.com/smallbeans. We also have a merch store. I think that's it.
Frame Rate, we out.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you.